This shows the state that our criminal justice system is in, and a lot of that ties in with the leadership at political level, and it's not just this government, it's the previous government, and leadership at the higher levels of the prison service. And Ian Acheson, whenever we talk to him, has written a book about this, and it's an absolutely fantastic.
Well, we've invited him on, indeed. Let's be joined now by Ian Acheson, former prison governor and author of Screwed, Britain's Prison Crisis and How to Escape It. A very, very good morning to you, Ian.
Hi, Julia, and it's nice to see Philip as well.
Oh, God, I just need to tell everyone, if you're new to it, Philip is mates with everyone. He knows everyone. It's like, oh, another one of my mates. It's a very small...
We're part of the Northern Irish Mafia.
I knew it. It's all a conspiracy.
The west of the band mafia, to be even more precise.
I've completely lost control. I'm just going to leave now. Right, Ian, let's talk. I mean, I'm guessing you weren't remotely surprised when you saw these reports yesterday about not only, drugs getting in, but now weapons could maybe getting in. I mean, the concern here is not just, drug dealers making a load of extra cash on the inside, but, you're talking about organised, very, very violent organised criminals. You're talking about terrorists possibly being able to get hold of weapons to basically walk their way out of prison.
Well, I mean, this is a farcical situation, but it's not one that surprises me. And, we are at risk of, threatening national security inside, some of the institutions that are holding the greatest terrorist risk in the country. And these are two prisons that have in the past and continue to hold terrorist prisoners. And, of course, the preeminent or the scale threat is how drones with easy access to these places are completely destroying any possibility of rehabilitation. Because, of course, when you get drugs available to prisoners, then you get the violence that's associated with debt and competition.
And there's more money to be made by selling drugs behind bars because, of course, people haven't got a choice of, I'll get it from the other street corner. But this is the thing. This has been known for a long time, and we know about, for years, some prison officers would smuggle contraband in. I mean, I can't imagine how hard it is for those who are honest prison officers, to try and deal with that and the threat there. But now we learn that, one of the reasons why things are getting worse, we know a lot of prison officers have left due to, the pay, the conditions, the violence. Most of us, you might have a difficult day at work, but you're not actually having to deal with, violence, being, actually attacked, dealing with often seriously mentally ill prisoners as well. A lot of experienced officers leaving the job, desperate recruitment crisis, so they just hire over the internet, over a Zoom, take pretty much anyone who applies. What a surprise, we're getting people who either physically or mentally aren't up to the job, or people who are there to be corrupt rather than to do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's disgraceful. There is a recruitment and a retention crisis within the prison service. We can't get decent men and women in fast enough to do what is actually a profoundly difficult and extremely important job. And when those people do come in, they're put in an environment where, they are basically punch bags and turnkeys. In other words, the violence is so endemic, and the prisons are, because of a lack of resources, not doing the jobs in relation to employment and training and rehabilitation, offending behaviour programs and so on. So people that join actually as a vocation very, very quickly leave, and you're left with people who are, unsuitable. And Charlie Taylor, the Chief Inspector of Prisons, repeatedly said that the people that work in the front line of our prisons now, the new staff, do not have the confidence to be in charge. And that's a terrifying prospect, not just for other staff and colleagues, many of whom, the vast majority of whom, I have to say, are decent and trying to do an almost impossible job.
Exactly. And it's really important that we don't do down and talk down the men and women who are doing any very, very important. A good prison officer can be the difference between someone, being able to sort of, get through prison and come out the other side and actually turn away from crime as well. But I mean, one of the things reported by Mark Fairhurst, the National Chairman of the Prison Officers Association, in this question and answer session, he at the House of Lords Justice and Home Affairs Committee talked actually about a man who was hired who on Zoom, who turns out had cerebral palsy, totally unsuitable for the job, wasn't physically able even to open and shut the prison cell doors, but he'd been hired.
It sounds unbelievable for a national law enforcement agency, but going back to some of the things that Philip said, knowing the corporate culture of this organisation, it doesn't surprise me anymore. I mean, that sounds completely insane, basically, that you would hire somebody who's not physically capable of doing the job. But months ago, I was being told by governors who talk to me because they can't speak out about this.
Yeah.
I was being told by governors that the quality of people they're receiving after 6 weeks of completely inadequate training was so bad that they've had to either actually establish a kind of remedial scheme for the people that they were getting from the training schools or units, which are basically sometimes just porta cabins thrown up that don't even have proper cells for recruits to practice on. But the quality was so bad they had to actually create their own training unit to improve that quality. And they were getting people who weren't properly qualified in control and restraint, which is essential if you are to be able to operate effectively.
That's a danger. That's a danger to those prison officers, to other prison officers, and also to prisoners. Again, a lot of the time, prisoners who need to be restrained, they're not just the bad, they're also the mad. And sadly, there are an awful lot of people behind bars who are seriously mentally ill.
And there's an important point, Julia, to make about that. Because if you have the confidence to handle yourself and the knowledge that you've got backup immediately, it actually makes you effective in doing the proper bits of the job, which is supporting prisoners to rehabilitate themselves. It's being pro-social examples out and talking to prisoners. We don't have that at the minute in so many of our jails. We have scared, young, totally inexperienced staff with no life experience who have withdrawn from contact with prisoners. And that means that vacuum will be filled. It will be filled with drugs, and potentially now with drones. It will be filled with people smuggling in other things, such as weapons and explosives. It's happened in the past without drones. It will happen again in the future unless this is gripped. And Shabana Mahmood must actually...
The Justice Secretary.
That must also look at the corporate failure of this organisation. It's not always about money. Charlie Taylor said that these prisons had cameras that didn't work and drone netting that wasn't available and was broken. That's nothing to do with resources.
That's absolutely. I very much get the impression, we certainly saw with those two big decisions to let people out early. It would happen under the Tories as well, but happened under Labour because the prisons were overfull. Both Labour and Tories have pretty much given up on our justice system, given up on our prison system. And a lot of people just say, the response will be, oh, I don't care about these people behind bars. Well, we should do, because there are other countries that have prison systems where they genuinely do rehabilitate people. They genuinely do actually change people. It costs a lot of money to run, but you know what? You save an awful lot of money in the long run when those people don't just go in and out and in and out, and those lives completely wasted. It seems to me that we've literally just given up.
Well, you will care, but you'll only care if you become a victim of crime for somebody that's completely alienated, who's released from prison worse than when they went in. But unfortunately, what we know from the demographics of victimisation is that it is poor people who are mostly victimised. They aren't people that are living in Zone 1 in Westminster bubbles.
Funnily enough.
Therein lies the problem.
Absolutely. Ian Acheson, always good to talk to you, former prison governor, also author of Screwed, Britain's Prison Crisis and How to Escape It. Philip, if only we had a little bit more people listening to Ian Acheson rather than perhaps to the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood.